Hi, I'm Steve Mathis, and this is the PulpMX Classic Commentary. I'm here with Jeff Emig. Fro, thanks for doing this.
My pleasure. It's nice to take a trip down memory lane.
Yeah,
at times like this.
I know you haven't really seen this race too much, so
Nobody ever talks about it.
And we're at Palatial Fox offices, so we want to thank Fox for donating the conference room here.
Yeah.
But 96 St. Louis. What do you remember? MC just on a roll all year. You frustratingly not quite able to beat him. Was it the earrings? Did you need 2 earrings?
Yeah, I've never pierced an ear, but the one thing about this St. Louis event here, and the riders still talk about it, is just how awesome the dirt is, and it really allows for some, for the aggressive riding.
Yeah, it's still like that today.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the exact same soil, but it certainly was taken from the same place.
Yeah, and first we're going to watch the 125 main here. Pichon, second year defending.
Chad Watson there working on Pichon's bike. Muffin, they're working on Dowd's bikes.
Yeah, still guys around still today. And Dowdy was pretty much Pichon's only competition this year in this 125 class. But Mitch came up on top, of course, as usual.
Yeah, he's had a pretty good run. There's no doubt about it. I like all of the Dayglow yellow and all the bright stuff there. And the one thing about watching a race like this from '96 for me is just how dated the bikes and everything seem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been a good 14, 15 years now.
Yeah, no, exactly. Pichon was a PC guy back then, and actually here comes the start right here, and gate drops. Pichon, what do you remember of him when he rode? Did you ride with him a lot at Cali Track? Was he a weird, reclusive kind of guy?
Yeah, I don't recall ever really getting along that well with him. Got some guys down here, Ashkenazi. 58, was that Deegan? No?
I'm not sure. And then more guys down there. And up front we have Brandes, followed by Whitnell. Pichon's down with, I think, Rusty Holland. Nope.
Can't read the jersey there.
But he was yelling at him. Do you see that? He was
yeah.
yelling at Pichon.
Well, definitely not the way that you want to start any main event.
No. And K-Dub, actually, I guess I said Dowd was his only competition. Clearly, K-Dub was in the mix. But for some reason, I believe Pichon won this year, 96. So they must have had a good battle.
Yeah, but what was interesting is when you looked at the starting lineup is that Wyndham, I believe he had like a 3rd or 4th in his heat, so his gate pick wasn't that good. And then also Dowd, if I remember correctly, looking at the starting lineup, he was, had to go through the LCQ.
Right. There's Corey Keeney. I worked for him later on this year, PJ1 Yamaha team. He didn't like me. I didn't paint his frame for one weekend. And I said, well, when you go 17-17, maybe I don't have time to paint your frame. And I was fired the next race.
Well, you're too busy putting levers and bars and putting new plastic on the thing from getting roosted. So
yeah, true story. Fired me.
Yeah, and he's followed by.
Is that Deegan, 25? Keeney.
Yeah, that might be.
Daub is 19. After that, I'm losing track, but.
Well, it's hard to remember. I mean, back then, the numbers, they weren't the permanent system.
Yeah.
And, the numbers changed each year unless you were McGrath, and then you just ran the number 1 in Supercross the whole time.
You had 2 a few times.
Yeah, well, I worked my way up to it. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah, you did. No doubt about it. And I really like the look of that PJ1 bike, yellow and black. I like that bike.
Yeah, it had a great look to it, and it certainly was, a strong influence with the PJ1 oil company. So that was big for an oil company, to step up and do that. But
also, too, another funny thing is I have some of this gear at home, and dude, you guys, full cotton and with the iron-ons and logos, they didn't.
Oh, that was close.
Oh. Look at that. Who is 147? That would be
47.
47.
I think it's Nathan Ramsey.
I think you're right. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Bailey just told us it was Ramsey.
And Ramsey had started a friendship with Buddy Antonez back in around 94, 95. And he charged so hard back in the days there. I mean, I guess that kind of defined his career, actually, this type of riding style. But, man, he certainly
there he goes. Double-double. To hold that down the whole straightaway.
Yeah.
Like and then a single at the end. Not sure if the guys would be doing that now in PBDFs.
Yeah, and the finish line jump was about 10 feet long. Then also.
Good eye on the Ramsey thing. I forgot about it. 47. You can see the dirt though; just looks good. Roof's coming out. You know what I mean? Like good lines being formed.
Yeah, and when you talk about the soil here at St. Louis, what's cool is that it changes, and so I know for myself, I always really preferred, having the track kind of change, and you have to change up your lines and all that. As Ramsey just works it there on that replay.
This was a hometown race for you? Did you? Kinda, sort of?
Yeah, I grew up, just right down the road, like 4 hours away.
Did you feel pressure? Was it different or no?
Well, this was our first time in St. Louis.
Oh, was it?
It was our first time back into the Midwest.
Oh, I didn't know that. Okay.
I think the last Supercross in the Midwest was 82 at Kansas City.
Oh, so this was a special moment for more ways than one for you.
Yeah. It's not like I'd been in SoCal for so long. It's not like I had a lot of, family and friends there. I did have a little bit, but not like I had a big group or anything, but certainly a lot of support.
Later on this year, I believe Daub would get a factory bike. Somebody got hurt, and they gave him a factory bike for a few races.
I thought he was on a factory Suzuki right now.
Was he? Okay. Yeah, maybe.
This is the year that he
won Redbud.
Won the first moto at Redbud, yeah.
And then he said on the podium that he can't. He doesn't think he has anything left for the second moto.
And he was right.
So. What was Daub like? Were you buddies with him at all?
Yeah, still am. Yeah, I talk to Daub almost every day. So.
Yeah, because he's a Fox guy, right? Or always wears Fox.
He is, yeah.
Yeah, like always running Fox.
I might be a sponsor.
Okay. All right.
No, but he does work with Monster and WMG and all that sort of stuff. And actually, James Daub just competed in the 6 days trials at the Scottish 6 days, his first trials event ever. Yeah, last week. I think he's still sore. It's been like 2 weeks.
You know what's funny was when I worked at KTM, Langston didn't like him. They had a heated rivalry in Europe. And I only heard one side of it. And I expected Daub to be kind of a dick when I met him later on, but he was a really nice guy.
Yeah.
Still says hi to me. And I always thought to myself, Langston really, because, they were competitors. They were banging bars.
I was thinking about it yesterday. I've probably said and done so many stupid things back in the days, especially back in these days. And I try to reflect on that when I start to get critical of riders nowadays, and critical of their actions and critical of their words.
Right.
And I try to put myself in that position and say, okay, what was I like at that time in my career? And you're outspoken. You're trying to take what the other guy has. It's just the nature of the business.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So. But on the same time, for you have to sort of be cognizant of that, because your job is to be a little critical.
Well, you're supposed to be, but you do the best that you can while you're there.
Yeah.
And what's interesting here is we're watching Kevin Windham just totally wheelie away from everybody. This was 96. Okay, he's still
wheeling away from
and at the Supercross award ceremony, he gets up there and has the acceptance speech of the night.
Yeah.
And it's just great to see a rider like him who's come so far, and he's a veteran, and he knows what it's all about. He appreciates it all. He cherishes every time that he gets to ride on the bike, and at times back in the days, you take it all for granted.
Yeah, and it sounds like he's finally realized, like he's not finally realizing, but he knows this. He knows you take it for granted, and now near the end, look at Ramsey.
Not a chance.
Dude,
of that,
when did he become a Supercross specialist?
Who was that? Was that Deegan?
That's Deegan.
That was Deegan.
Deegan.
Okay.
On the Chaparral Honda, and his teammates rode Yamahas and Suzukis. They all had different brands.
That was that interesting year, yeah. They said, we sell everything. We're going to ride everything but the Kajiva, maybe.
Yeah. But, Ramsey just looks really good. I'm surprised.
Ramsey is an interesting rider, because he's had the ability to win a race at every discipline, every level that he entered, even the 250 or what would be, or the 450 Supercross now, when he won I think it was Detroit, correct?
Detroit,
yeah. Yeah, and there's been
Rusty Holland down.
There's been a number of great riders that have failed to win a Supercross main event, and Guy Cooper. Yeah. Guys like that.
Tim Ferry. Just throwing it out there.
Tim Ferry.
Do you know that Nathan is like third all time in 125 Supercross wins?
Yeah, well,
Like, he's gnarly.
Well, I mean, yeah, he won a lot of main events. There was a long span there. He was in the 125 class kind of off and on for a while, but yeah. But once again, you know, he had the ability to win the race,
Right.
and that's because of his drive and his determination. He never was happy with not winning.
When you were at Yamaha and K-Dub was coming onto the scene, what do you remember from like his first year or two? Like, was he just a kid and just wide-eyed, and did you help him out at all? Did you talk to him, or did you know he was gonna be Kevin Windham?
Sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, nobody can predict the longevity that he's had, but you can see in the way that he corners the motorcycle and his riding style right now is that he's just naturally gifted. He's got the right, it's like a guy that has the right golf swing from the beginning, which is not me. Like, I could practice golf,
Yeah.
24/7 and probably, never break 80. Right? And if you just naturally are naturally gifted that way,
So you saw it. You were like his kids.
Sure.
Big deal.
And that has a lot to do with his with the longevity in the sport and him being able to. This is what his first. He rode some races in '94.
Yep.
So '95 he rode with us on factory Yamaha. This is '96, and now we're in 2010, and he is at the top level, winning AMA Supercross. So,
Like, talking more about Windham, if James and Chad and whoever you want were on the line at Seattle or Salt Lake, I'm not sure. You can put anybody you want there. He's gonna win.
yeah, that was
Those
that.
are dominating.
Well, he excels in those type of situations, and those are that's where a natural talent and technique comes into play in those type of mud races, and specifically how he knows how to ride the motorcycle, how he uses his legs and just his weight
Fluid
transfer.
right here.
Yeah,
Like, he's fluid.
so that has a lot to do with it.
It's funny, in the background there, I saw a 1-900 Pro Race banner, and you were never calling that number because you were at the races and you knew who won. But I, as a fan, as a kid, would call that number, and then my parents would get very upset.
How much that cost you?
Oh. And they would draw it out. They'd be like, Jeff Emig from Riverside, California, riding a Yamaha, was second, or whatever,
Well, and that just shows you how much we have progressed. We've
I
got
know.
Supercross Live, the 3.5 hours. We did that Anaheim, Indy, and Vegas, right? Or not Indy, I'm sorry, Atlanta.
Yeah, it's not even the main event. It's everything. You're seeing every race that night.
Uninterrupted, yeah. So it's pretty cool that Feld Motorsports, Speed, CBS, everyone involved, that they're starting to, that we're moving forward. I made the comment about the U.S. Nationals coming up, about that. I think that there's a progression that you have to stay on, that you have to keep moving forward and building little by little to build the series. And I think that both of our championships are in a good place. I think that they're in good hands, that they've got the right people running them, and to say, okay, we entertained 1 million fans in Supercross this year, and now next year we want 2 million. Well, that's probably not going to happen, especially not in this economy.
Right.
But if you see the look of the actual show inside of the stadium here, you compare this race that we're watching here to 2010, it looks awesome now.
Yeah.
You don't have
got
hay
bales
everywhere. And
yeah, no, absolutely.
same thing with the TV broadcast and the pits and the pit party and all that.
Yeah, you can see the finish line. It's just a banner. Look at the mechanics area as a banner. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like the presentation.
I got some banners stuck in my brake side rear wheel in Indianapolis in '97. I actually won the main, and it was just crazy that there were those banners there that I picked up in the mechanics area, and I didn't get the plastic on my
in your
on the rotor. Yeah, so a little stroke of luck along the way to the Supercross Championship.
It's crazy that this race has Bashan, Dowd, Windham, and Nathan Ramsey is just about handling everybody. Bashan Dowd went down, but still, good race.
Look, it's getting so rutted that they weren't even jumping that.
Bailey just made a comment, but look how slow they're going, Art.
Yeah.
Because I think it's just ruddy. It's just getting.
Well, it's rutted.
Yeah.
You kind of had to switch it up.
And they're on 125. Like, you had to keep your momentum up.
Yeah.
You didn't. You were going slow. And
Yeah. That's for sure.
And that was one thing, like, as a rider, when you ride 125s, like, guys behind you getting into stuffing matches would just help you pull away even more. You know what I mean? Because it's all about momentum. It was just all about it.
Yeah, here, let's call this replay here. See, look, they're both trying to get squared up. On a 250F, you would have been able to pop that double no problem out of the turn now. So it's night and day difference in the horsepower and torque from what these guys are riding here to what a 250F would be.
And Wyndham's got this thing. Look at Deegan still coming in. I didn't know Deegan was known for his late race charges, but he's coming in.
I think he just got passed.
Oh, yeah, double to triple.
By Ramsey. So this is one lap to go here for Wyndham.
Yeah, it's got to be, right? Yeah, look at him. He's cruising. Yeah. Final lap. There we go. Kevin Wyndham is, I still don't know how Pashawn beat him. Wyndham must have had some problem. Or maybe he broke his collarbone this year. Was that the year he broke his collarbone? You don't know, bro. You're a racer.
It was all the days for me.
Oh, there's the heel clicker.
You'll love it.
Oh, fans still going nuts for that today, actually.
Yeah.
Wyndham's got that front nose wheelie that drives me nuts because of the people that love it. And I'm just like, I guess just keep doing it, K-Dub. But to me, I've seen enough of those.
Yeah.
I've seen enough.
No, I love the nose wheelie personally. Go for it. I love his transfers and stuff that he's doing now too.
Cool.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
So is this Dobb running second then?
I'm not sure. Maybe Dobb charged hard and got second and beat Ramsey. Jeez, K-Dub.
That's a big lead.
Yeah, that is.
It's just different nowadays. You know, you don't really see riders doing this anymore.
No. There we go. And look at the banner for the finish line. Just kind of, it's not even straight or taut or nothing.
The one-hander.
Yeah. And I guess Dobb did get second.
All right.
Somewhere Nathan got passed, but still a good ride by him. Yeah, James Dobb.
With Nathan Ramsey making the podium.
And Ramsey got third.
Second podium in the last
and I like a K-Dub giving the thumbs up to the crowd.
Winning the evening's 125
when you were getting ready for here we replay of the heel clicker.
Bam.
That was a big deal when it came out. That was huge, right?
Uh-huh.
And same with the knack-knack. The knack-knack was big. Like, people waited for it. They just waited for it.
Well, the thing is, you look back at the early knack-knacks, like when McGrath first did them at Anaheim there in 93, maybe 92,
yeah, something like that.
or 93, 94.
Yeah.
It really barely had his leg past the rear fender.
Yeah.
And then when you seen how far,
progressed.
It progressed is pretty awesome.
Do you think maybe, Fro, you needed a signature move, a heel clicker or a knack-knack? Did you have one?
Didn't
need one?
Did not have one.
Maybe that's why you would need it, Fro, back then.
Look at Wyndham. He's just a baby.
Yeah. Yeah, he is. You know, when I was working for, well, I know Ferry, when I worked for Timmy, a lot of times he would be watching the 125 main while he's packing his gate.
Sure.
I always wondered, like, shouldn't you get in the zone and think about your race and really look at the gate? Like, Nick Way never watched the main, really. He just packed his gate, thought about the race, got worked up. Yeah.
You got to watch it, especially if there's a big screen, because you're watching for lines, watching for where the flow's at.
Oh, so you really were?
Sure.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, why not? Yeah, and it's
I
entertaining.
You wanted to get into the zone.
I think
sort of mental zone.
No, I think it amps you up, too.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, because,
Look how young Dobb looks even. It's crazy.
Although, Dobbs ran the shaved head forever. I guess he maybe lost his hair early or something. I don't know. He's had the shaved head for a long time. Even when he raced GPs back then, always ran the shaved head.
Mm-hmm.
Never know what James Dobb looks like with hair. I still don't know.
1990, I think, he used to have long hair.
Did he?
Yeah.
Yeah, he raced the amateur stuff over here, right? And didn't he go to World
Championship and stuff? But in the late 80s, he rode some of the Golden State.
Yeah, over here, yeah. I've seen his name before.
So there you go. Pichon had a 35 or 25-point lead.
Yeah. So K-Dub obviously was coming back from injury.
Something, yeah.
Yeah, because he pretty much dominated this race. He might have dominated the series. Okay, somehow this was an east-west round, I guess. Fro, did you know that?
It says west.
Yeah, but the other guys were east. Prashant, everybody was combined for this one. This was an east-west round because Dobb and Wyndham were first and second. East-west.
Maybe, yeah. We did a few of those back in the days.
Yeah.
They tended to mix them up, but now they fortunately got it sorted out.
That's you now. That's you. You're on the right. What else on that?
Without the coat and tie.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. Yeah, and they don't ask you guys to do that. They don't care. They run the speed little thing. You cool with that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that it's more fitting for us to wear what we're wearing, not because it says speed on it, just because it has a racier look. This is kind of going after like a major league sport type of look.
Right.
And I think that what we're doing
edgy.
works well.
We're edgy. Hey, you're gonna be working with Bailey this summer. Just in, I don't know when this is gonna make it to the internet, but you're gonna be working with Bailey, so that should be interesting.
Well, I'm gonna do some races, and Bailey's gonna do.
Oh,
some.
I think you guys
so
aren't.
I
thought you were combining.
No.
No three-man boots.
Not at the moment.
Okay, all right. So you're not working with Bailey. You're working with Wygant.
Yeah,
Sorry to hear
I
that.
love working with both those guys. We had a good time when we did Steel City last year.
Now, when you were racing, would you record these and come home and watch them? I mean, were you?
No.
No, never. You never paid much attention.
Well, I wanted to, but it seems like back in the days that the air times were so off. You know,
Yeah,
and it's not like I wasn't really good with the
The VCR timing.
with the VCR time.
mean,
But I remember Marty Reed doing this. I do remember
Really?
him talking about how deep this rut is. That's
Right.
that's weird.
That's
He
funny.
was such a great guy
Was
to
he?
have come
Yeah?
interview. Yeah, I really enjoyed speaking with him when he would come to interview us and get the little nuggets for the race.
So he wasn't just there on like assignment. He followed you guys. He knew what was up.
Well, he was
Like-
he was the on-track
Right.
reporter. So.
But you know how some of these guys maybe don't know. They're just there to do a job. They don't
Well,
really,
but
like,
it doesn't matter whether they're following us. I mean, that's their job. You know, it's like
second gate pick tonight.
ooh, I didn't have the fastest heat.
Talk about the gate picks really quick. What you're
Yeah,
talking about.
Phil Lawrence right there. He should have won the fastest heat. He was on the gas that night.
And just couldn't
And
pull
he,
through.
yeah, and he made a mistake with 2 turns to go, and McGrath got by to win the heat. I remember I was bummed out because it gave McGrath the first gate pick.
Right.
And this is strange right here that I chose to line up on the outside of Jeremy rather than in the inside because historically I always wanted to be to his inside.
Yes.
I would try to get out of the gate and just kind of move over a little bit.
You were good on your start always. Everyone knew Fro was going to get the start or be up
Jeremy
front.
going through his pre-race
Yeah.
routine here. We each had our, every rider's kind of got their pre-race thing, and what that does.
Skip's. We're listening to Skip's audio of what he's telling Jeremy. Tells him to get out front early. It's his race if he gets out front.
And it very well would have been.
There's J-Bone. J-Bone, mechanic of the stars. What's the AMA guy doing there? Does he just want to be on camera?
Check and make sure all the lug nuts are on or something.
How frustrated were you at this point in the season? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, MC'd won every race.
I think that coming into this race, I had shed the frustration, and I think that there was a couple of races that year that I just handed to him.
Yep.
And the thing is that he was always there. He didn't have any slip-ups, and that's you can tell right now I'm just pretty focused and pretty confident at this point. And I wasn't really frustrated at this event. It was more, I was more motivated than I was frustrated.
Yeah.
But it wasn't easy. It was a tough season.
You knew it was coming. You knew it was
Well,
coming.
no,
Like,
because
not this race, but wins were coming your way because you were making progress.
still wasn't
Still
wasn't
not.
convinced. No, not at all.
30-second girl, hotter than that, that's for sure. Bailey said he's being impressed with you right now. You
That's
guys
odd.
can't hear it, but
I didn't get a lot of compliments from him back in the days, and we've actually spoke
Have
about
you?
it since then. Yeah, he's like, "Hey, I'm calling it like I seen it."
right. Yeah, you know what? I just did a Budds Creek one of these with Rich Taylor, and he didn't have a lot of good things to say about you either in that one.
Albertine lined up way on the outside.
Yeah. Bradshaw, he's returned to racing, first full time. Gate drops. Oh, Emig got a good jump. Look at you, sneaking around the inside. Dragonbacks. I thought Dragonbacks were fairly new, but apparently not.
No, we've had those for a while. And then here's my buddy Phil Lawrence, who was having a great night. Starts second. You got Albertine, Lusk,
Yep.
Button on those.
100. Yeah, 24 is Denny.
Larry Ward's in there.
Phil was on it this year, second at the opening round.
Yeah.
Privateer Kawasaki. Just
See
really
what McGrath did right there off that double. Instead of hitting the downside of the double, he like over jumped the double. And that's one thing about whether it was the bike and the setup and all this, is that he had the ability to do some really special things like that, where it was worth, a bike link, half a second, quarter of a second, where he could really, he was just way more aggressive than everybody else, because you can see he's already picked up probably 5 spots from the first turn.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So
he, again, talking to Rich Taylor, he just went on about this bike on this thing. He's couldn't stop talking about the 95, 96 CRs. But MC still a 93 back here. Still smaller engine changes, he said. He did all the testing for the race team, but really good bikes. But, I mean, your Cowie was no slouch either.
Well, this is about the time of a part of the timeline here. Now watch what he does right here, how he overjumps this thing.
Yeah.
See how he didn't hit the downside? It was a little bit smaller that time, but it allowed him to, close right up on the back of LaRocco, yeah.
And LaRocco was hating life this year, not liking the Suzuki at all. Oh, look at Cousin.
Yeah, that thing, it wasn't good back then.
It wasn't good. Said he got really frustrated with the team and with the bike, and his dad got into it with Suzuki guys a little bit. It just wasn't a good year. He covered it extensively.
But he's still out there charging.
Yeah.
I mean, he had a chance to win this main event too. He was right in there the whole time.
Right. Interesting how they focused on, you're winning the race, Phil's second, but they're focusing on Jeremy. I mean, they're just saying, what can you keep it winning? Can you keep it up?
Maybe it's because that Honda logo was on the.
Yeah.
That was like the Honda spot that they've, purchased.
Yeah. They got a Honda stopwatch later too. Look at MC getting it.
Yeah, but look at how even on the 250s here, there's doubles and stuff that you're kind of not really making clean.
Yeah.
In Supercross now, there's so much flow to the track. Okay, you never come up short like that on anything. Like the whether it be the bikes or horsepower. There's Albertine.
Albertine down. Imagine that.
But that you had to try to, even on a 250, which was the premier class bike back then, you had to make the bike jump to make the distance.
Right.
Nowadays, 450, there's nothing that you can't do, and that's some of the criticism from this race in 2010 with that triple jump where Tedesco and Villapoto went down. Is that was one of the few jumps here lately that you really had to make the bike go.
Yeah.
I've heard some riders thought that the track in St. Louis was brilliant, and some of the guys that got hurt said it was a pile.
Right.
So.
Yeah. No, absolutely. You're right about that. They're not used to it. They're not used to having trouble making something.
Exactly. And as you can see watching this race, especially here, I mean, we're only 4 or 5 laps in.
Yeah.
The track's going to deteriorate big time.
Yeah.
And even this little double out of turn is going to be tough by the end of the main.
Yeah. And you're right about that. If you didn't hit your corner perfectly, if you didn't hit everything perfectly, you were
Ryan Swink down.
Oh, Swink. Swinkster was bad, huh?
And that's before the triple. That's an odd place to go down.
Oh, that double or something. Swink was good, huh? Like kind of potential unrealized?
Well, I mean, he was strong. He had everything going his way. Won a couple of 125/lights Supercross titles. So,
why do you think Phil turned it on this? Didn't do very well the year before. Did all right.
Yeah,
really turned it on this year, and then the next year he struggled again.
Well, he had his own private track. We all kind of bought into it to help pay for the thing. But his confidence was high. The bike was obviously good. The 96 Cowie was a new bike. We made a swing arm change, and it had this extended, like a longer, bigger, stronger swing arm. It didn't come production, but if I remember correctly, we got it homologated.
Yep.
For Supercross, and that really made this chassis. It made the bike start good, and it made it way better on the track. So, but a lot like what you were saying about MC with this bike and this 93 chassis, what he was comfortable with. I was in the beginning stages of that with my Kawasaki, the 96 Cowie.
Yep.
96, 97 was basically the same. 98, they made a little bit of a change, and the 98 chassis was brilliant.
Right.
And Carmichael actually ran the 98 chassis years later.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, on into what was his last year's Cowie? Yeah.
2000, 2001. I think 2001 was his last year.
Yeah, the 99 chassis wasn't so good. So in 2000, they went back to the 98 chassis. So a little bit of the wizardry behind, what the factory teams do.
Yeah, and Damon Huffman told me when he joined the team, the second year he didn't like the bike, and he was struggling with it, and then he found out halfway through the year that you decided a while ago to go with the old stuff. And he didn't know that he could, and didn't know it was an option, and was like, man, I wish I would have done that, like.
I can't say that I remember that. It seems like at the time that everything was out in the open that.
No, I don't think.
But when I was teammates with Huffman and Rhino on Factory Cowie, they liked a totally different engine setup than what I liked.
Yeah.
I totally disagreed with what they were doing with the engine.
Right.
So, same thing with the chassis. I could have. Phil's down.
Phil.
Gives up second place.
Can't help you this night either, Fro.
I know. Let McGrath by again, man.
Right.
But that's the aura that McGrath had, is that if you were in front of him, you knew that he was back there somewhere, and you knew that he was coming.
He was like a shark, like you're just panicking.
Yeah, and most of the time he didn't even have to pass you because you'd make a mistake on your own. And like I said, just like Phil does right here, I made a mistake at least 2 or 3 times during this series to give the win away
just
to McGrath,
like
I thought.
Right.
So,
Interesting.
and I don't want that to come off like I don't want that to come off wrong, but what I'm, when you're the rider, you're going, man, okay, I think I've got this one won. I think it was Indianapolis that year, and if I remember correctly, I fell with just a couple of laps to go with the lead, and so that's why having races like what I was just talking about makes actually winning this event makes it, so special to actually nab a win, because this season, LaRocco couldn't win, Phil Lawrence couldn't win, Lusk, none of us.
Craig, any of those.
Nobody had won a race
Yeah.
this season besides McGrath.
Yeah. Interesting, too. LaRocco was telling me the other night, like a week ago, how he sucked so bad this year. Here he is in second. He's holding off MC, and he's not that far off of you.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's his standards.
His relative, I know, right.
I mean, his standards are high. He expects to be battling for the win in every race that he was in, and for the most part he was. But his years here, on the yellow bike, weren't so good to him.
You know what? You must have made some mistakes somewhere. They must have not shown it, because those guys caught you.
Yeah, these guys are on it. I mean, my plan was to ride 15 laps at the same pace, and right now these guys are really pouring it on. So.
Oh, J-Bone, we're a little worried.
Yeah. I mean,
or is he just counting seconds?
Well, it was tough. I'm sure that he planned on this race being just like every other one, and why it wasn't, I don't know.
Right.
Luck of the draw, or just I had some better lines that I was riding. At this point, I was riding really cautious. I was.
Jeez, LaRock.
He tried the inside line. It was tough to make that double.
Yeah.
The fans were so behind me at this point, though. I would have to say that was a major difference this year. This race.
Yeah. People wanted to see the king.
They wanted to see. To see
the underdog.
Yeah, I mean, Jeremy was so popular. He had won so many races. This is his 4th year of winning the championship.
Right.
Look at that. We're only at the halfway point. And after a while, you just get tired of watching one guy win. But then what that guy has to do is he has to keep winning, and then eventually he becomes a legend, and now they want to see you win again. But there's, for sure, you go look at that. I was so squirrely out of that turn. That was horrible. Where was I going?
It's funny that you bring that point up, because, I remember a time where Kevin Windham wasn't loved. He took all of Suzuki's money. He was a slacker, underachiever. I'm not saying he was. I'm saying the perception.
Yeah.
And it's just come around now. Everybody loves the guy, And, he's never changed. He's been the same K-Dub,
Yeah.
But it's just funny how fans, the fickleness of fans up and down, and nothing changes as far as the personality or the riding style of the rider.
Yeah.
But this is a good race. I don't remember this race being this good. Like, I thought you kind of rode out.
No. Watch what LaRocco does here. He's on it. This is all 3 guys stacking up. And so now this is the mental part where it's like, okay, am I going to blow this thing and give it to these guys again?
Now, you had to hear the cheers behind you. You're like, okay,
you know exactly
on, right?
you know exactly what's happening. And you're going, okay, how am I going to make this race different than before. And the best thing to happen to me right now is LaRocco pressuring McGrath.
Yeah, look at that.
And not letting, almost took him down.
Like, yeah, and you talk about the guys being intimidated by MC. Obviously, LaRocco.
No, he's not intimidated by anybody.
Yeah,
never was.
He's one of the guys that's not worried about MC and that big number one.
So now watch this here. LaRocco just comes in and just is on the gas, and actually goes all the way to the bales. Now, if that had been me, we both would have been laying down.
Or if that had been today, people on the internet would have a meltdown.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that was kind of accepted back then. Like, there was nothing wrong with that pass.
No.
But some people would get their panties in a knot.
Yeah, but this,
today.
I mean, think about it. You've got a three-man battle for the main event win right here, you know?
Yeah.
LaRocco comes in on me here hard, too.
Oh, yeah. Look at that.
And then I think he passed me here at the end, yep. And then watch, I square this up. He doesn't double.
Oh, nice. Thinking ahead, Fro. I like that. Thinking ahead.
Yeah.
You're like, I'm going to square this guy.
Not the first time I'd been passed. Not at that point. Not in Supercross. But see, I was, thinking back, I remember just going, okay, not letting my heart rate, get out of control. Going, okay, I need to block the inside. Look at LaRocco. He's practically on the bales. I need to keep completing the jumps, and I just need to keep my head, not make any mistakes here, and give this thing away.
And wasn't too many years before this that you were kicking LaRocco in the ribs.
Glad you brought that up. Yeah, that's a.
I love that story. I love it. But so yeah, basically, I mean, it's almost it's easier to be the the chaser than the chasee right here. You kind of don't know what's going on behind you, And these guys can mark you and see you and deceleration points and braking points. So it's harder to be in the lead in this situation, I think, as a racer. You want to be in the lead, but it's not necessarily easy.
Yeah, it certainly isn't. And I just kept trying to ride my same lines at this point.
Yeah.
And you can see LaRocco's all over the place. He's really charging. By now, he's getting really frustrated because he's got Jeremy behind him. He's got me to the inside.
Right there too,
to the front of him.
Yep.
That's blocking every inside line that he tries. Okay. I mean, you can see he's just all over me right now, just really charging it.
Oh, you look over at him. Cut him off on the inside, yeah. No, you're right. You are holding the inside. You're riding your lines.
I was just holding my lines,
You're holding your lines. I'm not saying you're.
But this next section here is where he was so good. Now watch what he does right here, because he just squirts over this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Takes off from the second to last.
Yeah, second last.
Instead of getting in there and getting that big hop off the end. And so that was a critical moment right there to get the power back on.
And you got a lot of hops in that whoops, and he's staying pretty straight. Whoa. Oh, he's so mad right now.
I wasn't going to give him the inside. That's the last thing I was going to do,
And look at Craig. Craig's right there. 4th place. Wow.
Are you sure he's not lapped?
No, because they had him up there earlier. They had him up there at being at 4th. And again, you are right. You're staying in the same lines. You've been taking that inside line and that berm right there and that straightaway the whole time. And you're pulling out of that rut early. So you're right. You are keeping the same lines. And LaRocco's he's just fuming.
Oh, that was Mike Craig back there. That's crazy. Honda of Troy.
See,
I tried to drive it right back into the inside.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And LaRocco and I, we always raced that way. He knew that I was going to try to hold the line and I wasn't going to give it up. And I knew that he was going to try to take it no matter what. So, see, I wanted to hit this inside and double this thing right out of the turn.
Yep.
Now we get into a little bit of lappers here.
And
now the pressure's on. Now I definitely know that Jeremy is behind me. And for probably 40 races or something, he's always came out on top.
Right. Oh, a mistake by MC there. Now you had at this point you only had one win in Vegas.
I had one Vegas in '95.
Yeah, and that was it. Okay.
The night the lights went out. Yeah.
Right. So
it really was a main event win, with an asterisk, next to it. So this would be the first real legit race. And the reason that it was legit is because Jeremy was the champion, and so if he wasn't in the race, you didn't beat the best guy.
Yeah, yeah, and as well too, it's not like he crashed and pulled off or something. He's on you the whole race, or basically the whole race. So
I think it's great. You know, you've got 3 different manufacturers, 3 different teams. I mean, the fans were just on their feet, just loving it.
yeah,
The track's gone away. It was really difficult.
yeah, yeah. You
And
can
I'm
see
riding my same lines right now. I can see that I just kept watching where I was going, and I didn't switch anything up. I knew that right there I wanted to be inside, and then I found an outside line to exit,
the way outside. Yeah.
so I could, you know, not open up the inside going in, you know,
and then not drag
still
your peg
make the
going
double.
out,
Yeah.
like make a double coming out. And it's, you know, it's funny too. Everyone has made a lot of mistakes except for you. I haven't seen you really make too many.
There I just moved out one line, stayed, and then cut back to the left to miss the ruts. Okay, so instead of going those 2 inside lines in the first turn,
Yeah.
I made a new line that wasn't so rough to make sure that I get through there clean. And look, that section right there, I gained 2 or 3 bike lengths.
Yep.
You know,
And I'm sure MC, if you had asked him back then, if he had to lose, who the one guy he didn't want to lose to, it would be you.
he didn't want to lose to anyone. You know, that was the thing, is that
Bummer.
he was so motivated and just so confident that. And you know, he said after this race that it was a relief, but you know, looking back on it now, you know, being so close to winning every race of the season, you know, it's got to be frustrating that he didn't actually accomplish that. But I tell you what, I mean, to have all the race wins like he did, and this win streak was, I mean, it was something else. And it I'll be honest with you, it sucked to be one of the riders that was trying to stop his win streak, and just you know, up to this point, you just couldn't do it.
And you know, he told me his biggest regret in his career is pulling off at Washougal '96 Nationals. Hurt his ankle at Millville, and he was like 10th or 8th, and he pulled off, and basically gave you a bunch of points. One of his biggest regrets. Like, so he may have said back then that it was relief, but he looks at these things now, and you know, looking back at history, he's like, man, I could have won that title. I could have won this race. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's true though. I mean, one thing that's cool about this, and I as frustrating as it was at times, I'm fortunate that I got to race Supercross and battle against the winningest rider of all time, and I may only have 7 main event wins. But they came at a really tough time to win. You know, it's like, so it's special, you know?
Yeah.
I mean,
no, absolutely.
something that I'm really proud of.
What do you remember about this last lap? When we're getting the flag and being like,
I remember having a little bit of breathing room here, and just I kept exiting my turns and cutting back. It just wasn't good, but I just had this little bit right now. See that right there? Like, that was bad. I drug my foot a little bit, got in the wrong line. And this is when, look at all the fans on their feet, you know? You're so close, and it really came down to this section here. And I remember Phil Lawrence made a mistake in the heat and gave up the heat win.
Right.
So right here, I got my
here.
line. I know exactly what I want to do. There's no way that he's going to get to the inside.
Yeah. Yeah, you're going inside to
And
inside.
this was a surreal moment right here. This was it.
Double-hander. Yeah, that was a big deal, man. Like, just beating the king. He was a man, you know? Did he say good job to you right there? Or was it somebody else? Or you were... Wow, Art Ekman just called it legitimate. First legitimate win.
There's Phil right there.
Everybody's happy, dude.
Even Mike Craig, Phil Lawrence, everybody giving me the high fives, because everybody knew just how special that was to stop the win streak. A guy is just a couple of races shy of winning every race in the season. And after this, I didn't even care what happened afterwards.
Was this was near the end? Was it second last race, third last race? Do you remember?
I believe it was second to last.
Second last race. Okay, so there was one more left. It's probably $100,000 night for you right there.
At least 50.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. It was a good race. That was a better race than I remember.
Yeah.
As
It was pretty tight.
Bronco,
Yeah.
And Craig was right there even, and Marty Reed interviewing you. 14 races, and you pull it off.
This was the 14th, correct?
Yeah.
You know, especially when you're out front, you kind of get a little, like a little soggy, I think. But but LaRocco and Jeremy, they gave me a good
That's
race.
cool. That's a
I'm
cool
sure
memory
that was
for you.
exciting for the fans here in St. Louis.
That 56-second lap in the heat race was
I was so horrible on the mic back then.
Yes, the time slowed down as the because of the
Yeah.
I stuttered so bad. It was just.
By then, by here, you were better than you were on the Yamaha days. I think. Look, everybody's just happy for you. You beat them.
And so I tried to keep in my head, and I just tried riding a great race. With Kawasaki and Bridgestone, they put together a package that's just awesome. I've been getting those hole shots, and that's all important on a track like this.
Okay, Jeff, congratulations.
Yeah, thanking all your sponsors.
Yeah, Kawasaki and Bridgestone. But that was the thing too, is that let's don't. All season we had just focused on McGrath. And it's like, okay, let's don't worry about him anymore.
Right.
Let's just focus on ourselves.
Yeah.
I can't. Jeff rode a great race. I can't take anything away from him. I think LaRocco may have blew my momentum a little bit towards the end when I passed for second. He kind of slammed me real hard.
He did. Yeah, it's cool. He's not making any excuses. Sure. Yeah, it's good. It's good to see.
What's that saying? You can't win them all.
Well, I'll tell you what, 13 in a row, guys. It may be
what is he doing there, I wonder? My arm was pumped up, maybe.
He's still king of the hill.
Well, I mean, that was a tough race. It looked slow, but back then, I mean, we were hauling ass. I mean, that's the thing. You look at those old races, and
the tracks have gotten easier, not easier, more flow, and the bikes have gotten better.
More flow.
Yeah, and the bikes have gotten better to the point where I didn't even see Rhino in that race. I guess maybe he was hurt or something wasn't there. Third in the points, but
I think he might have been hurt by that time of the season.
That's cool. No, that's a great memory for you. Great race, and I mean, I remember where I was when I heard that you won it. Even like to this day, like it was a.
And I was pretty tight with Phil back then too, and I remember just looking at him like, dude, you won it? Are you kidding me?
Wait
he had a
till
great
tomorrow
ride
night's
too. So.
Party at the Inland Empire Club.
Wait, why we wait until tomorrow night?
We're gonna go out tonight.
Look at that, pointing to J-Bone and those guys. I mean, it was on. That was a big moment.
And was this Roy Turner or Sternstrom?
This was Bruce Sternstrom by this time.
Okay, yeah.
Oh no, wait, no, wait. This still was Roy Turner.
Okay, all right.
Roy left in '97, in January of '97.
Okay, so it was good for Roy. He's been there for the whole time, and then. What are you doing
that was a big win. I really enjoyed riding with this team and all of the team members that we had, working with everyone on the crew. It was awesome.
Right, yeah. And Phil's probably as happy as you are, for well, maybe not quite, but he's excited. Well, Jeff Emig, thank you for doing the PulpMX Classic Commentary 96 St. Louis, man. I appreciate you taking the time.
My pleasure. What a great trip down memory lane.
Yeah, we'll have to do another one of these. Maybe we'll pick up another win out of the memory books.
All right.
Thanks.